It's 50 years since China's communist leader Mao Zedong launched what became known as the Cultural Revolution. It led to a decade of chaos and violence in which hundreds of thousands of people were killed and millions more were abused. Its legacy has resonated in Chinese politics and society for decades. So what was the aim? Our team at BBC Chinese takes a closer look.
On 16th of May 1966, the Communist Party of China issues a directive. The Cultural Revolution begins as a decade-long political campaign. It calls for a purge of capitalist influences and bourgeois thinking in the government, teaching, media and arts. A huge personality cult of Mao is at the center of the revolution. While other party opponents are removed from the office, Mao's wife Jiang Qing and her close associates are given important posts. Mao's quotes in the Little Red Book are made compulsory reading. With themes such as correcting mistaken ideas, the quotations become the standard by which all revolutionary efforts are judged. A youth organization called the Red Guards springs up throughout the country, preaching the teachings of Mao. The Red Guards travel all over the country, smashing the old culture, destroying much of the cultural heritage. They spearhead the interrogation, humiliation and beatings of teachers, intellectuals and traditional enemies of the state. 16 million young people are sent to the countryside for re-education and physical labor. Tens of thousands of officials are accused of being traitors, counter-revolutionaries and capitalist stooges. President Liu Shaoqi is expelled from the party and dies a lonely death. Marshal Lin Biao, Mao's named successor, flees the country but dies in a plane crash in Mongolia. Mao's wife Jiang Qing and her close associates form what became known as the Gang of Four. They push the leftist agenda against more moderate voices within the party. In September 1976, Mao Zedong dies. The Gang of Four are arrested, and their plot to control the country stopped, marking the end of the Cultural Revolution.
Well, Professor Mo Gao is director of the Confucius Institute at the University of Adelaide and joins me from there now via webcam. Professor, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. For a long time now, historians have struggled to convey exactly what happened during this period, indeed the brutality. What is your assessment of that time?
That's probably too large to talk in a few words. I suppose there was violence and there was backlash against that kind of violence, but there are other aspects of the Cultural Revolution that are not really discussed.
Such as?
Like the improvement of health education and in the countryside, and also the people become more critical, less obedient to authorities. They think more independently. And there was really mass participation in political affairs. And it was a grassroots democracy.
Did it serve its aim, do you think? The vision that Mao Zedong had, did it deliver?
Not really, no. That's part of the tragedy.
Can you tell me how?
Because we have to remember it was called the Cultural Revolution. It was meant to change the mentality and the so-called culture. And that kind of change takes time and effort. It's difficult. Because it will take a superhuman to be able to understand that and to be able to change that. It's difficult, for the Cultural Revolution basically failed in that respect.
Well, when we look at China today and what we know of China, what was the impact the Cultural Revolution had on the country?
There are quite a few. For instance, I still think if you look at today's China, if you look at this industrial power, and who is going to be the workers of this huge industry, and the Chinese peasantry. And the improvement of healthcare and education really helped that, helped for the economic takeoff afterwards. But also, as I said before, and people are more critically independent, and they're not obedient. The Chinese culture used to be to teach obedience, Confucianism. I think the Cultural Revolution really has changed that. And also a generation of elites, the urban youth who were sent down to the countryside, they experienced the real life of the people, the majority of the people in China. Like the current leader, Xi Jinping, he was in the country for a long time. And that was a very good experience for him, as far as I can see.
We're grateful for your analysis, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us. Professor Mobo Gao there.